Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you a brand new series. What if Naruto was the Oni of Death? Part 1 guys. If you want to see part 2, go ahead and destroy that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. If you're new, yes, I have 4 channels that I post on every single day. It might sound crazy, but it's not guys. Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, and Anime Prince guys. Links will be down in the description, so go ahead and check it out and enjoy guys. And also, don't forget to stay tuned for the rest of what's coming your way. And also remember to turn on the bell notification to see exactly when I post. So without further ado, or wasting any more time, what is we jump right into this new series. Begin now guys, start the intro. His black hair flickered in the wind as he watched the people down below celebrate. A festival was being held on this day, October 10th. It was the day of his little sister's birthday. More importantly, the day he lost his father. Minato stood proud on top of the podium in front of the people as he addressed them, causing the black haired man to snort. There was a time when he saw that man as his father, but that time passed. After all, what father in their right mind would see a demon in their own children? Without noticing, Naruto's hand went up towards the corner of his eye, tracing the seal that was woven around it. As he saw a redhead slowly made her way towards the Hokage, he had to fight the urge to snarl at her. No matter what he did, no matter how nicely he went about it, that bitch would not let him to meet his own little sister, the one that shared the other half of his curse. He wished he had his mother. He had seen photos of her loving face, and he knew that if she was alive, all of this could have worked out. They could have been a happy family. But alas, he was basically exiled, and his little sister was seen as Konoha princess. He slowly closed his eyes, hiding their golden color from the world as he turned, heading back towards his home. He had enough of the festivities for one night, as he leaped from rooftop to rooftop, making his way. As he moved, his little sister Natsumai, she will be starting the academy this year. No doubt her trip will be easier than his, as the black-haired teen found it rather funny. He was a bastard son of their greatest Kage, while his sister, who was sadly related to the whore of his stepmother, was seen as royalty. He hailed from 2 great clans. For crying out loud, his black sandals made no noise as he landed on the grass below. He looked around to make sure that he was not followed. It wouldn't matter if he was though, because the animals would only let him and a few selective others near his house. But it was better to be safe than sorry. As he stepped into the shadows, the tigers came out to greet him. Before they stepped back in the darkness, he was seen as a king of Training Ground 44. The animals knew this. Even the shinobis knew this. Appointments were ran past him for those who want to step in, because he was known to kill any that stepped inside the forest, giving it its name, the Forest of Death. With a small flick of his wrist, he opened the front door and stepped inside as he heard it click behind him. As he removed his cloak and hung it up, as he stepped into the kitchen, he was wearing black envelope pants and a skin-tight black t-shirt that went down to his wrists. He wore no flap jacket, because as far as the villagers were concerned, he was just a monster who does not deserve any rank. As he made his way into the kitchen, as he got the kettle, as he was gonna have a cup of coffee, winter was just around the corner. He could feel as much. As he prepared the water to boil, before he placed the things within the cup. Once the kettle was done, he extended a chocolate thread from his finger, pulling it forward as a few water spilled to the side. He could have done it much more cleaner, but this helped with the chakra control. You have to have a renounced amount of chakra control to be able to pull something like this off. As he pulled it towards him and poured it in the cup, the sun was setting. It bathed his home in a natural, orange light that made it feel more alive. And he hated that feeling. It was painted deep blue, for a reason, for him to remain cold like he was taught. It was to remind him that there was no weakness, no room for weakness in his life, no matter how appealing it might become. As his coffee was quickly finished off, as he made his way towards the dojo, as he stepped, he felt the change in the flooring. As he arrived in the dojo, he went down to his knees as he placed his head down to the floor before he sat back up straight. As he felt his power wrapping around him, the reason why he was banished, the material that he already knew, uses chakra as a barrier of sorts to redirect any damage that would be done to him. For example, if a kunai was to strike him in the side instead of slashing him, it would normally become a blunt hit, and it would spread across his side to reduce the damage that he would take. As he let it wrap around him before he slowly got to his feet, his suit of armor, his curse and his blessing, it was silent. It did not get in his way, nor was it visible. It could blend nicely in the surrounding area. In a moment notice also making him invisible to the naked eye as well. As he felt a weight appear on his back and his bow was back in its place. He had spent so long working on this obsidian beauty that it was littered with seals that would make even Jiraiya cringe at the complexity of them. It was perfectly silent. It quickly applied a seal to the arrow, masking all sound and also erasing the sound that will come from what it hits. It was his perfect long-range weapon, able to kill without giving away his position. Next was his katana that rested, slightly running down his spine. The hilt was a dark green, while the blade itself was a heavy purple. It was heavily tinted so to make sure it was not standing out so much. Packs of kunais rested on his thigh. They refilled by the suit, draining his chakra to forge the metal, allowing him to use as much as he liked, like they were going out of fashion if he need to. He pulled his blade as he felt the small spark of lightning that went down it because of his bloodline. This suit framed his body and made him feel better and stronger than he ever could. There was a faint knock at his door, showing how impressive his hearing was. To hear it from over 50 meters away, even through the closed doors and the walls. He let the suit around him fall from his body as it turned into ash on the ground. He looked at it fondly before he made his way towards the door. As there was a group of Anvu there as he opened it, he sent them a small glare, letting them know that he wanted them to talk. "Kurama-san, your friend is at it again. Tashiko, this time," the Anvu said. He truly hated Minato. Not only did the man take his name from him, but he also forced him to allow this group of Anvu to appear on his property for reasons such as these. "I will leave in a moment. Now be gone before I make you leave." As he closed the door in their faces before he reached and took his cloak back as he placed it on, as his body broke apart into smoke and he was gone. Meanwhile, Uncle Naito had went downhill rather quickly. It started out like normal. Her and Kurna went out to grab some drinks. Sadly, it seems like two drunk 16-year-olds though was too much for the perverts within Konoha, as all of the men became more touchy, thus lead to the predicament that they were now in. Both her and Kurna were back to back, as they were surrounded by the lusting Jonins and Chunins alike. Things were not boding well for the two. "I still find it interesting how often you can get yourself into trouble, Uncle-san." Her eyes went wide as she heard his calm voice rake across the ruckus that were being made by the drunken men. Some of them turned as they saw the golden eye man looking at them, rather boredly. "You're all too noisy for my liking. Please, leave now. I am sure that no one wants to deal with you. Also, remember to pay Tashiko for any damage that you have caused to his bar, or I will be forced to hunt all of you down." However, after saying that, none of them moved. As he looked at them, "If you wish to fight me so bad, please meet me out in the street. And do not just stare like some common fangirl," he said. "It is unbecoming of shinobis." Kurna whispered to Uncle, "Who's that?" However, she was unaware of Naruto's sensitive hearing. "I am her handler, so to speak. They call me when she gets in trouble, so things don't escalate beyond this level." As Kurna turned towards Uncle, who was scratching the back of her head, as she was nodded with a sheepish look on her face. Some of the males of the group decided to take him up on his challenge. It was then that Uncle saw it, a glint in his eyes. Even though she was only 2 years younger than him, it felt like they were light years apart in skills, and that glint in his eyes always promised pain. ever since he became her handler. As he was now surrounded by all the men, Kurenai looked towards Anko, who stopped her. It's best not to get involved. However, Kurenai realized that he was alone and surrounded, but Anko just held her hand and shook her head. One of the arrogant Chunin decided to step forward and tried to sweep his leg away. However, he turned so fast as he raised a leg and smashed it in the Chunin face. He didn't stop there though, as he turned and brought his heel down, slamming it inside of Chunin's head, knocking him out cold. As he looked at the group of Jonin and Chunins, "I beg you not to waste my time," he said to them. As they rushed towards him, the first one that came got backhanded across the face, throwing him into the wall. As Naruto spun as he catch the second one's arm, as he yanked it down, using his knee to snap the arm. Yanking the broken arm forward as the man cried, he tossed him right into his friend, knocking the both of them over. The last Jonin of the group stepped forward as he tried to attack him from the back. He ducked under the fists before he turned to the side and grabbed the guy by the back of his neck as he kicked his leg away before he dropped him hard, causing his face to slam into the earth, knocking him out cold. The Chunins that were still standing looked towards him. "You're a demon, through and through. Why you're still allowed in this village, it's beyond me," the speaker said. He tilted his head. "Your point being," he said, "I'm here to do what must be done. You fools are disturbing the peace. Now, be gone." As he turned his body to speak to Anko, believing that they would just run off, however, a bottle was smashed over his head. The unlucky Chunin that did that. Watch as the man slowly turned towards him with those eyes. All of the strength left the Chunin body, all of the will to fight did as well. As he looked into those golden eyes, he felt like he was gonna wet himself. As he ran for his life. "They call me a demon, and yet they expect me to go down after a hit to the head by a simple bottle. Such idiots," he said. As Kurenai was there, her eyes wide open, her jaw threatening to fall off, to how wide it was open up. "Kurama 32, the village, 0. Looks like you're still ahead, Kurama-san," Uncle said, in a polite tone, knowing that he might still be in his mood. However, he turned and smiled at her. "Uncle-san," he said, "aren't you meant to tell me when? You're gonna have a night out. So you say in your own words. By the order of the council and the Hokage," he said to her. As Kurenai was looking over him, her red eyes studying his form, Uncle looked sheepish. I forgot," she said. As he shook his head. "I know it is still rather early, but I think that's enough for tonight," he said. "Don't you think, Uncle-san?" And he looked towards Kurenai, as she jumped, realizing he was talking to her. "Me?" she said. "Yes, you. What's your name?" "Friend of Uncle's." Kurenai," she said. As he merely nodded, looking at her crimson eyes. "I guess the polite thing to do will be to escort you to home." Uncle nodded, glad that he wasn't in his grumpy mood. That was always good because he could be rather violent when he was. As he escorted them, they didn't take long for them to get towards Kurenai's apartment. As she was still staring at him, as Uncle nudged him in the side. "She totally has a crush on you, Kurama-san," she said. "You know what, I'm just gonna call you Kurama. And I shall call you Geki. Come on, Geki," he said. "Let's get you home." He taunted her. However, she had a downcast expression on her face. "What's wrong?" he said. "I actually got kicked out of my apartment today. I was going to try and seduce a boy. Let him take me home, so I could spend the night and fix it in the morning," she said. He snorted at the stupid idea. "You can sleep on my couch tonight. Tomorrow, I will help you find a new house. But just for future reference, trying to seduce a boy normally means that you wish to sleep with him, not just sleep in his house." She blushed heavily at that thought, as she did not plan that far ahead. However, she realized that he said that she could stay for the night. "Really, Kurama? You would do that?" she said. He gave a small shrug. "It makes my job easier, seeing I will know where you are." As she smiled at that. Later that night, he was called to the Hokage's office. The black-haired teen that was going by two names, Kurama and Naruto, looked really similar to Madara Uchiha when he was in his glory days. As he stood in the office, looking across the man that would have been his father, that is if things would have stayed how they were. The first thing he noticed, there was no envoy in the room. His black hair flowed down towards his back, making his face look more animalistic with those golden eyes. You called Hokage-sama, he said. His tone was cold, showing that he was not happy being here. He'd comply and show like normal, even if he felt hatred towards a man. Minato slid a file towards him. It's a 4-year job, one I can't trust with anyone else. As Naruto snorted at that. Aren't you afraid I would betray you? I am only your bastard, demonic offspring that holds no love for anything. People are not sure whether I will attack them or not for just walking down the same path. Minato grimaced on how calm and collected he could sound about the whole thing. He had listened to Kushina, and because of that, he had created a monster. You are loyal to the village, not its villagers. That is why I can trust you with this position. You cannot be bribed because you have no need for money. You are tougher to crack than Ibiki, and you are scarier on the battlefield than the man that you resemble. As Naruto inwardly smirked at the praise, but on the outside his face remained calm and impassive. You do not need to tell me what I'm good at. I trained to be that way after all. I will agree, under 2 conditions. Minato motioned for him to explain. 1. I will not be some pawn for the council to play with. I will only take orders from you yourself. Minato could see the logic behind that. Naruto's chakra was too violent for a normal genjutsu to work against. Any illusion trying to impersonate him to give him orders would just rub away like sand. Secondly, when I become a jonin, the council will not force a team on me. I will take one if I choose to. Minato nodded. The terms seem reasonable enough. Sounds good. We have a deal, Oni. As Minato held his hand out to shake, however the suits flutter around Naruto's body in an instant, showing who he really is. His voice now sounded demonic and distorted, coming through the strange fox like Oni, mask helmet. My blade serve Konoha, he said, as he gave a small bow before he vanished. Meanwhile, Kurenai was in bed, as she wasn't ready to go to sleep yet. She had just begun tuning earlier in the week. Tonight was their night to celebrate, but she could see the logics behind Kurama's words. She wondered why Uncle never told her about him. Was he hiding something? As she plopped down in her bed, his voice was charming, and he had this aura about him that she found rather attractive. She groaned as she flipped over and placed her face right in the pillow. She was too old to be having a schoolgirl crush. He looked like someone she should know though. Someone important. As she saw how quickly he dispatched the Jonins, she wondered if she would even have a chance against him. More than not, if he could take out Jonin so quickly. It made her wonder though, why was someone like that tasked to watch over Uncle? That was her last thought as she drifted off into sleep. The next morning, after getting ready, she made her way to visit Uncle at the local Dango and coffee shop. It was a routine. As she saw Kurama once again, she thought that maybe something was going on between him and Uncle. As he bid her farewell, she thanked him for letting her stay over last night. As Uncle saw the look on Kurenai's face, as she giggled. We didn't do anything, Kurenai, she said. Geez, what do you take me for? Kurenai crossed her arms over her chest, whatever she said. It's not like I cared anyway, as she huffed. You so do, Uncle said, as she made her way in the store. Kurenai followed to order their breakfast. Meanwhile, as Naruto arrived in his new office, his suit was in place. It was a very deep dark blue, with crimson trimming along the side. As he saw a note on his desk, asking him to show up in the council room at 9. Looking towards the clock on his desk, he only had 15 minutes, so he started to slowly make his way. When he arrived, he could hear the noise of debate already going on inside, so he didn't bother to knock as he turned into smoke and fluttered through the keyhole. He reappeared behind the Hokage. The moment they saw him, they started to freak the hell out. One larger civilian member stood up in outrage. The thought of someone breaking into the council chamber like the rules didn't have to be followed. Who the hell do you think you are, marching in here and covering your face from us? I demand you to tell us who you are. However, Naruto ignored the man. As Minato clapped his hand, the person behind me is a solution to the amount of corruption I've seen from this council. This is our new Envoy commander, Oni. As Naruto gave a small bow of his head. It was a good thing that his face was covered, otherwise the Uzumaki clan head would see a very nasty glare send your way. He will only take orders from myself, thus he holds no loyalty to the council, only the Hokage. A few of the civilians gasped in surprise, as the shinobi signed on an agreement They had had enough of these greedy freeloaders bribing their way to the top. As Naruto stepped forward as their eyes were locked on him. "If I find your actions to be a threat to this village, I will kill you," he said. "This is your only warning." He looked to Minato, who gave him a nod, as he burst into smoke and went to the vent, like he was never there to begin with. Time skip. Oni stood in the middle of the office. He was covered in his suit and his mask. "Remove your mask." Not for too long though, as he removed the mask. The suit vanished, showing that he was covered in a red armor. His unkempt black hair falling straight down into his back. His visible eye was showing a Sharingan with 3 tomo, with his hair parting down his face covering one of his eyes. His physical appearance got the Anvu on guard immediately. As they draw their blades, "Madara," they said as they moved forward to protect their Hokage. "Stand down," said Minato, stopping all of them, as Naruto looked rather bored. Minato spoke. "You really do look like your grandfather. I can see which side you got your looks from." That hurt. It hurt so much that he had to find out that night, rather than from the mouth of the man that was supposed to be his father. He had forcibly grown somewhat closer to Minato. When you are the leader of his private army, and you only speak to him alone, it is hard being unable to. There was a locator on his neck. The initials UI was engraved in it. "You can turn your Sharingan off now, Naruto." As Naruto nodded, as his eyes returned back to normal, their normal goal. However, they now had a black Fuma Shuriken in the pattern, right in the iris. Minato had read a report from his son. His eyes had changed when he unlocked his Sharingan. They mutated even more than their natural look. "Looking through my natural eyes feel like a foreign concept now," said Naruto, as he cracked his neck. "Now that my 4 years are up, I guess I will be demoted to Jonin." It was what they agreed on, so why would anything change? Not exactly. You have been given Sanin traveling rights. This means you can travel through any nation that we're neutral with, only showing your ninja ID. I honestly think that you'll be able to do that without the rights, seeing that you look like a clone of Madara. Naruto snorted to what his father was saying. "I would be making that announcement in a few moments across the village. Anvu, if you would." They all gave a bow and they left the room. "Are we gonna return to our estranged relationship, father?" he said, his eyes not showing off any emotion as he looked through the window behind Minato. Kushina would be angry. Naruto felt like slapping the man in front of him. After all this time he was still so whipped. However, Minato was not done. But she will have to learn how to deal with it. "The past 4 years we connected once again. You made me remember what it's like to have a son." "Thank you, Naruto," he said, as he gave a small smirk to his father. "She will try to take actions against me, using the council," said Naruto. "She will not. I will be putting my foot down when the meeting is called shortly after the announcement," said Minato. He motioned for Naruto to follow him as he walked through the tower. People pressed themselves against the wall as they passed by. "You know, I do not know whose path you're moving out of. If it's yours or mine," said Minato in a joke, as Naruto cracked a smile as they reached the roof, the sunlight shining down on them. As Naruto looked across to where he stood, 4 years ago, the Anvus there saw his looks as they narrowed their eyes. However, Minato placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder as that calmed them down. "People of Konoha," Minato said. The crowd down below started to scream. "I need you all to calm down," said Minato. "Listen to your Kage, maggots." The Anvus who were not in the room nor realized who Naruto was after hearing him speak. It was your Anvu commander. Well, that was effective. "This man beside me is not Uchiha Madara. This is his grandson, and my son, Naruto Uchiha." Minato would offer him to take Namikaze's name, but Naruto politely turned him down, saying that it would cause more trouble than it's worth. "He is with me today, so you do not give him the reaction he received when you first took notice of him everywhere he goes in the village. That is all," he says. He stepped away from the roof. He started to laugh. The looks on their face, it was priceless. As Naruto frowned, it seems like he also knew who he got his personality from. "I think I'll take my leave now, father." Minato nodded as Naruto vanished in black flames. He reappeared outside of his house. It has been so long since he has been here. He really hoped that uncle took care of the place. A large tiger came from the bush as it sniffed Naruto before it returned back to the bush. It is strange how animals are smarter than humans sometimes. As Naruto entered his house, walking straight into the room, where he saw a topless uncle shifting back and front on the couch. He then heard male groaning. "Really, uncle," he said, "on my couch?" The purple Kunoichi snapped her head towards the voice. "Wow, 4 years really changed a person, huh?" she said. She pulled herself up to show that she was still in jeans, so it wasn't as bad as he thought. "What did I say about one night stands?" said Naruto. As he moved closer to the couch, she jumped in front of him as she waved her hand defensively. "If you came home every now and then, you might actually know that we've been dating for a few months now." "Where have you been anyway?" she asked. He decided to take her word for it. "Well, now that the job is over, I can legally tell you. I was the Envoy Commander," said Naruto. Uncle gaped like a fish out of water. As Naruto looked over the back of the couch as he saw a scared Chunin looking up at him with fearful eyes. Seeing Naruto and those crimson eyes flash, the Chunin passed out. "That was actually kind of fun," said Naruto, as he turned towards Uncle. "So, you and Aruka, huh?" She nodded hesitantly. "Well, good for you too. I hope everything's work out." As he started to walk away, "Mister," she said, "we're going out drinking tonight." He turned towards her. It was strange, receiving orders from anyone else but his father, as she noticed the locket. "Who is UI?" she said, noticing the initials. Flashback. Oni was on top of the roof. Beside him was Weasel, an envoy that he had taken under his wing, so to speak anyway. "Are you sure that you're up for this?" He heard Weasel taking a deep breath, before he gave a nod. "You work your way in, and I will work the way out to you." Weasel snapped his head up as he was about to protest. "I will leave Sasuke alive. I'm not heartless, despite the rumors going around." Itachi nodded shakily as he reached up and removed his mask. "They are our clan. They deserve to see the face of the man that killed them, so they know who to curse in the afterlife." Naruto nodded as he forced his mask away, showing his crimson eyes to the world. "I will see you soon. Good luck, Oni-sama," Itachi said, as Naruto moved towards the center of the compound. He dropped in through the window of Itachi's room. This house has the biggest risks, seeing that it has an alarm button. As he made his way through, going to the master bedroom, as he arrived on the headboard, looking down at the sleeping Fukaku Uchiha, he brought the blade down as it split right through the man's skull, but he put a bit too much force, causing it to tear right through the fabric of the bed sheet. The woman beside him snapped open her eyes, as she was sleeping calmly beside Fukaku. As she saw the sword sticking through his head, she looked up as she saw Naruto place a hand to his lips, as a kunai was by her throat instantly. She did not move. She only said a few words. "I knew your mother," she whispered. He slowly moved the kunai a bit, allowing her to continue. "Izanami Uchiha, the daughter of Madara Uchiha. Your grandfather. Did you not wonder where you got your looks from?" The woman gave him a warm, kind smile. It confused him deeply. He was here to kill her, and yet she was not afraid. She was as beautiful as her name suggested, and she was as kind as they come. Plus, she was your father's first choice. That has to count for something, right? As Naruto did take pride in that. The only reason why Kushina was able to get her claws in Minato was because his mother had passed away. "I know why you're here tonight. I know what must be done in my jaw. There's a note that is meant for Itachi. I saw you some years ago and suspected that you might have been her son. Looks like I was right." The woman was making it very difficult for him, being so cheery, telling him all that you want to know. "I just want you to know, we deserve what you and Itachi are doing. We have wronged you, as much as we've wronged the village." As Naruto narrowed his eyes, the clan elders poisoned your mother so she wouldn't live through childbirth. It was their punishment for getting pregnant with a non-Uchiha out of wedlock. She was to die if she went through the pregnancy. A drop of liquid dropped on her cheek as she looked up to see his teary eyes. "Your mother said that she couldn't kill you, not even if her life depended on it. I saw her hold you for the first time, with tears running down her face. You had held her finger with your hand." Naruto wasn't the only one crying now as Mikato started to cry as well. Minato had to leave the room. He couldn't watch her die. He took the entire blame on himself and tried to keep you as happy as he could. But it wasn't able to last. "Well, you know how the rest of the story goes," she said. "I am sorry. And thank you, Mikato." As she bowed her head watching the kunai, came closer to her skin as panic came in her eyes. Itachi, or the axe, he said. Sasuke is to be kept alive. She nodded at that as she closed her eyes. He made it as quick as possible. She shared a bed with a monster. She had suffered enough. As he cleaned his blade and his kunai, as he moved towards the jaw, finding the note. Itachi, I understand what you have to do, and I know that it must be difficult, but please, can you grant me two last requests? Look after Sasuke, but don't cuddle him, okay? He doesn't want to be babied anymore. He wants to be like you, strong and brave. Please find the man named Kurama/Naruto. Give him this key, and tell him about the deposit box at the Konoha First Bank. I thank you for cleaning up the mess that your father made, my son. I do not regret having you for a moment as I think of what is to come. This is as much my fault as anyone else. Your loving mother, Mikoto. As Naruto picked up the key, as he sealed it and note away, as he steeled his nerves, he hoped there was no other house like this. Itachi proceeded to left the village at night. It had too much memories for him. As Naruto understood what he was talking about, and let him go with a head start before, he reported him missing. He had made his way towards the bank as he found the deposit box. Inside was a few scrolls. Out of everything though, he saw a silver locket. Inside he saw a photo of his mother and father. As the both of them were resting their hands on the bump on her stomach, which was him. A lone tear fell from his eyes at finally having a family picture. He packed up everything that was inside in a sealing scroll. Thank you, Mikoto, he said. In the flashback, Anko saw the tear fell down his face as she wondered if she said something wrong. As he slowly opened the locket, Izanami Uchiha, my mother. She looked up at him, and for the first time she could say, he looked happy. She moved to hug him, but he raised his hand. Put some clothes on, he said. Anko let out a small heap as she realized she wasn't wearing anything on the top. As she put her bra on and her shirt, as she then moved in to hug him. Not as good now that the moment is gone, she said, causing him to laugh. At least we're both fully clothed, he said. She nodded with a smile. It was strange, without you here, you know. It's good that you're back. They didn't really talk that much before he had vanished, but every time there was something bad going on, he has always popped up and saved her no matter what. He was always there for her. It's good to be back, Giki, he said to her. She punched him playfully. You want to wake up your boyfriend, and we'll go for that drink. I can use a few bottles, as he chuckled sheepishly. As she laughed at that. Time skip. She dragged him towards a bar Tashiko's. Naruto wasn't surprised as she dragged him there. You weren't kidding, Uncle said. The crowd really do move as you pass. As she hung on to Aruka's arm while she spoke to Naruto, said Chonin Aruka was feeling out of place. As Naruto changed into a nice pair of jeans, a long sleeve with the sleeve rolled up towards his elbows, the locket around his neck. Hey uncle, I got your message. Naruto was so used to having his Sharingan on, so by default it was always on as he turned to the voice. She quickly pushed Anko away as she pulled a kunai. How are you even alive, Madara, she said. Hey, Madara, Anko said, putting quotation marks around his grandfather's name. Turn your Sharingan off. His Sharingan went dim as his golden eyes came back into play. Kurenai's eyes widened as her jaw dropped. As she stuttered, unable to properly form a sentence. She wanted to say Kurama. Call me Naruto Uchiha, he said to her. Kurenai nodded in shock. Well, how about the first round is on me, he said. As questions from left to right was thrown at him, he answered, to the best of his capability. Uncle told me that you were the Envu commander. Is that true, Aruka said. As Naruto rolled up his sleeve, showing the Envu sign with a shuriken symbol around it. As Aruka whistled. Now that isn't something that you say every day. Now I have something to tell my students. As Naruto merely shrugged. It is not every day that one retires, and is able to talk about it. The small blush on Kurenai's face was still there. The fact that her little crush that she had on him 4 years ago did not go away, and not to mention he seemed to have gotten more handsome. Not to mention Anko lifted up his shirt, as she told Aruka to get ripped like Naruto. That made it even worse. Anko is still pretty intense, isn't she? His voice was so calm and full of life. It was not what she expected from an ex-Envu commander. His hair moved slightly, as she was able to see a seal around his left eye that his hair was covering up. It looked like tribal markings. Why do you hide the tattoo around your eye? He flinched a bit when she asked. Because it is not a tattoo. His voice became a bit hard at that, as she realized that it was probably a sensitive subject. Oh, I'm sorry, she said. You didn't know, he said. I shouldn't have acted the way I did. A smile tugged towards the corner of his lips. As Kurenai smiled back, the amount of alcohol that she was drinking to keep her mind off of him and to not stare at him had finally taken effect. As she leaned forward a bit, as Naruto felt her heart breath on his neck. Hey Naruto, Hokage-sama wants to see you. Kurenai snapped her head so fast. As Naruto looked up. Thank you, Asuma-san, he said. I shall take my leave. As he said goodbye to the group, as he passed a pile of money to Uncle. I don't know if I'll be coming back tonight, so have fun, he said. Kurenai was rather upset. What do you want, Asuma, she said. She was not happy. He couldn't have waited at least 5 minutes. I just want to say I was stupid. And I want you back, he said to her. You're joking, right, she said. As he didn't change his mind, as it seemed like he was telling the truth. You tried to force yourself on me for my first time, and now you come back wanting me back? You must be joking. I think you should leave, she said. Look, Kurenai, Asuma-san. A very gruff voice said from behind the bar. I think you should leave. The bartender said to him. Fine, fine, he said. Okay, I get it. He already has you under his control, Asuma said, waving them off, only to be slapped down to the ground by Uncle. Take that back, you sexist pig, she said. At the Hokage's tower, Naruto stood in front of his father. Minato smiled at seeing the lucky turn his son next still. Now I'll keep this quick. I was wondering if you want to be a judge at the Jonin exams. They're coming up in a few months. As Naruto merely shrugged, I don't see an issue with that. Would you like me to make Anbu recommendation as well? Before he could say anything though, Hokage-sama, a fight has broken out at Tashigo. Naruto sighed as Minato looked towards him. I was just there. There's no need to send any Anbu. I'll handle it, said Naruto. Minato nodded as Naruto vanished in black flames, as he appeared right in front of the bar, catching the two fists that almost collide with one another. As Naruto looked towards Anko, he saw the scared look behind her eyes as she looked towards him. He knew how to read people and he knew who was at fault here. If the Hokage wasn't in fact looking for me, I would have suspected that you sent me there to cause trouble, Asuma-san. Asuma blurred out that Anko started it. Be that as it may, our night was quite delightful before you showed up. I think you should take your leave before you end up in the Anbu cell. As the bearded Jonin snorted. Of course, you have the Anbus under your thumb. Yes, they will listen to me. But it's not because I control them. It is out of respect. Asuma broke free as he went to take a swing once again. Naruto guided Anko back as he blocked Asuma's strike, attacking me while I was trying to defuse the situation. Have you no honor? As Naruto took a step back, I would gladly fight you, if that is what you wish. For someone to blow your own ego. Asuma raised his fist up to his chest, taking on a more relaxed boxing guard. You're gonna need those eyes to keep up. I was a guardian, you know. As Naruto's Sharingan defused, Asuma snarled as he moved forward. Naruto shot and slammed him right in the throat, causing him to gasp. As Naruto stepped into his guard and backhanded him right to the side of the skull, throwing him back as he collapsed to the ground hard. And I was the Anbu commander. I don't see your point, said Naruto. Asuma's eyes went wide just before he passed out. That is a lesson to all of you. Do not become overconfident in your abilities. It will lead to your downfall. As he stepped towards the group, as Aruka was shaking his head at his girlfriend's antics, and Kurenai was looking at Naruto with that strange, unreadable expression. So, what did your old man want? Uncle said. Kurenai looked towards Naruto in shock. What? You didn't know? Said Uncle. Kurenai shook her head. Father want me to judge the upcoming Jonin exam, said Naruto. Both Uncle and Kurenai stiffened at that. Well, looks like this will be more interesting than I thought. He felt a pair of delicate arms wrapped around his chest as he looked down to see Kurenai hold on to him. Thank you. I know I should have defended myself, but he outranked and outclassed me. I guess I just didn't have the backbone. As Naruto raised a hand on her head. It's alright. He seemed like a dick. It's all okay now though. As she nodded, as Naruto glanced up toward the heavens. Kurenai figured that this was her best chance now as she leaned in to kiss him. However, she had sobered up a bit, and now she felt really nervous. Hey, you okay? Said Naruto. She nodded weakly in his chest, as she felt ashamed that she didn't make her move. Yeah, I'm just tired, she said. How about I walk you home then? As he walked her home, as Osama was picked up by a shadow and gone. He's so heavy, Naruto-sama, the figure said, in a groan. As the figure hoists Osama up and moved towards the infirmary. Time skip. Failed, said Naruto. He heard some grumble from behind him, as a clone behind him rested a kunai on her throat. Are you ready to try again, uncle? He heard her footsteps disappear as she was gone. He closed his eyes, before he snapped his left arm out and caught her wrist. There's too much emotion behind your strikes. I know this exam means a lot to you, but you need to detach yourself from your emotions before you go on higher rank missions. As he slowly opened his eyes, giving her a soft smile causing her to blush. Stop doing that, you idiot, she said. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Your infiltration skills are almost tuning level. The rest is still sitting at high tuning. But we still have over 3 months to bring those up to speed. I will help train you for the exam. Her eyes brightened with happiness, however, his darkened. She's gonna hate me after all this is done, he thought to himself. He was not wrong. 2 weeks passed in the blink of an eye. Anko was on the ground panting heavily, while Naruto looked like he just walked out of the house to start her first day. You're improving in leaps and bounds. When was the last time you had someone instruct you? His question seemed innocent enough, well to him at least. It would have been before I left with Orochimaru, she said between panting as Naruto nodded his head. To raise from Genin to this level of skill, all on your own, is greatly impressive. I believe if someone had taken the time to train you once you were younger, you would have been hailed a prodigy. As Anko looked up to meet his smiling eyes, she was one of the rare few people that could say she could picture Madara smiling. I believe that we're done for the day. Anko went to pick herself up until a hand pushed her down and went towards her chest. She was about to scream pervert until she saw the hand glowing green. When did you learn how to heal? As Naruto looked up at her at the silly question. I was Anvu for nearly 14 years. 4 of those years were spent as a commander. All Anvu have basic medical training. That was the first time he told her how long he has been in Anvu. It had made no sense because she never even knew that he was a part of the Anvu. When she found out that he was a leader, as things started to fall in place. Oni, she said. As he nodded, Oni was the only male Anvu to look out for her when she was younger. Wow, you have looked after my ass for how many years now, she said. He mulled the thought over his head. About close to 10, he said. In a way, that would make you like my brother, she said to him. As Naruto could not see the logic behind that, but he shrugged nonetheless. From now on you shall be big brother, she said. He gave her a blank look. That was so lame. Are you even trying anymore? As Anko huffed from where she was sitting. As Naruto walked over after healing her as he sat down, giving her a 30 minutes rest. A large white tiger came over as Naruto sat down. What are you up to, buddy? Said Naruto. The large cat gave a yawn as he tilted his head towards the black-haired man. As Naruto got back up, well, I'm a little hungry. You want to get something to eat, he said. As Naruto got to his full height, the large tiger was around the size of his hip. And Naruto was no small man. He was 6 feet 2 inches, so the tiger was massive. Time skip. Anko and Kurenai panted as they stood across from one another. As Kurenai was surprised how much Anko had improved. Finally putting some effort behind your training, huh? She said. As Anko frowned, I always did. But I finally have someone to teach me now, she said. Kurenai wastes no time to question who. Why Naruto, of course. Does he know Genjutsu? Kurenai asks. As Anko thought about it, she's never seen him use it before. I do. Kurenai froze up as Naruto was right beside her, standing there with a ridiculously large white tiger. As Naruto saw Anko look at his friend with question. Meet Tai Long, said Naruto. It looked like the tiger shrugged at the name. Okay, from now on, you can be Tai Long. The tiger moved over towards Kurenai as he lifted her hand to make her pet him. Well, it seems you're quite friendly, Tai, she said. Kurenai looked towards Naruto, a questioning look in her eyes. Would you be able to help me train for the exam as well? As Naruto shrugged, I will help out when I'm free, which seemed to be a lot at the moment. As he chuckled at the end, as he rubbed the back of his head. Anyway, I shall leave you two back to it. Me and Tai was on our way back home after lunch. Anko looked towards the tiger and back at Naruto. You just walk him into the village, and no one questioned you, she asked. As Naruto looked at her like she was an idiot. Not only am I a carbon copy of my grandfather, but I'm the Hokage eldest. People turn a blind eye when I kind of do things. Plus, he's friendly enough. Hey, are you free at the moment, Kurina asked. He gave a small nod. Do you think you could, she said. Uncle looked towards Kurina, it seems. Her friend was not versatile when talking to men. I can help you out, if that is what you're asking, she nodded, with a slight blush on her face. Can you perform a genjutsu? She nodded as she raised her hand. The area started to shift as it turned into the Uchiha compound. As Naruto frowned and wiped his hand away, as the genjutsu simply dispelled. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have used that illusion. The demonic scenario. The genjutsu allowed the captor to see an era that brings them fear. It was then that the area shifted. The place turned dark and foggy. As they returned back to normal, did you see what I did? Both Kern and Uncle shook their heads. It's a simple trick to catch your opponent off guard. Kunai tried the illusion, but she tried, with one hand this time. The illusion took a longer time to form, and he also saw sweat on her forehead. Once again he waved his hand as the illusion dispelled. Now hold the genjutsu over the hand, channeling chakra, he said, as he motioned towards his left hand by his side, like it was just standing there lazily. She felt his illusion creeping in, and he did not even move a muscle. Again he quickly dispelled it as he looked towards her. The art of illusion is tricking your opponent. If you mix this in with a basic style of combat, you can trick your opponent to think that you're a clone. Kurena's eyes widened at that, as she never thought of something like that. Meaning while they were distracted looking for the real you could strike from right in front of them. As Naruto nodded, she did what he did as he performed the transformation jutsu on her hand to make it look like her hand did not move. But she was struggling to maintain the transformation over her hand and casting the genjutsu and make it look like her hand didn't move at all. It took some time and she started to pant, but the genjutsu on her hand was still there and she was able to cast the one over Naruto as well. It will take some time, but once you get the hang of that, we can move on to holding a chain of genjutsu while casting a multi layer 1. Kurenai started to turn pale a bit as her feet started to sway. Naruto was there in a second as he caught her. You should have told me that you were running low, he said. We could have taken a break, I didn't want to waste your time, she said. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself first. Genjutsu, while not the most physically strenuous, it does put the most strain on your mind. Out of the 3 types, if you start to feel tired or uneasy, you should worry about what you attempt. That was Genjutsu 101. She felt slightly angry that he was reteaching her things that she already knew. However, he wasn't really lecturing her. It was like he was trying to protect her. As she leaned her head on his shoulder, as he figured that she was tired, he reached into his pouch. She watched as he pulled out a scroll and draw some couple of lines on it really fast, before he tied it and dropped it in her lap. Inside are a list of tips and tricks. I found help with genjutsu. I don't know if they will do the same with you, but it can't hurt. She inhaled deeply as she took in his scent. He smelled like the belladonna, those beautiful flowers in her apartment. A calm and sweet, nice scent, which she found relaxing. Earth to Kurenai, he said, snapping her back into focus. She stumbled out as she realized he was right in front of her, face to face as she blushed. I asked if you were feeling okay, as she looked into his bright golden eyes. Her blush intensified. I'm feeling a little lightheaded. Is it okay if we just sit here for a little while? She asked in an innocent tone. Yeah, that's cool, he said, giving her a friendly smile. Uncle chuckled to where she was, with the tiger beside her. Maybe she's not as clueless as I thought. As she looked toward the tiger. Well, if you insist, Tai, we can go and get some dango. The tiger seemed to shake his head, but he got up and followed her, like he was going to keep her out of trouble. Flashback to the Anvil years. A groan slipped from his mouth. He was accepted into the Anvil at the young age of 8. He was currently wearing a tracksuit, while his face was covered by a plain white mask, a katana resting on his back. As he looked forward, as the man in front of him was wearing the ONI mask of the Anvil, as Naruto raised his hand and gripped the hilt of the blade, as he felt the spark of life, that is what he called it, mixing with him and the Tanto, making it a perfect instrument of his body. He rushed forward and clashed against the man. The older male knocked Naruto to the side, only for Naruto's body to fade away. Again jutsu, but I wonder what part of it was. Our clash. Are you vanishing? The Oni said. Was I fighting the real you or a clone? He brought his weapon up and blocked Naruto's strike from behind. You hold too much emotions in your movement. I could feel your ki giving away your position, kid. Naruto smirked before he exploded right in the Anbu face, blowing him back as a crack came on his mask. The man quickly waved a hand over the crack as the mask repaired itself. The Oni shall not show his face until it makes his final move. He tilted his head to the side as Naruto felt a strange sensation below his ribs as he reached towards the area. Damp, he muttered, as his hand had blood on it. He wiped his 4 fingers across his white mask, leaving 4 red lines across it. As he removed the kunai that was there and threw it to the ground, his hand then started to glow red before he slammed his hand on the wound, cauterizing the wound closed. With the wound now closed, Naruto rushed forward, trying to strike the man. The Oni simply stepped to the side. However, Naruto smirked at that, as he spun and flashed his blood-covered hand right towards the eye holes of the man's mask. He then spun around and brought the tanto around. However, a kunai pressed up against his throat. As the man stood behind him, "You're a real demon, my boy. Welcome to Anfu." As the Oni removed the mask, Naruto dropped to his knees, panting a bit, as he felt his mask being moved from his face, but he was too exhausted to do anything. Moments later, another mask was placed on his face. From this moment on, you shall be the Oni. As Naruto was able to nod before he passed out. But guys, to be inspired right here, for what's next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on that bell notification stay posted, and not to mention guys, go ahead and check out the other channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, and Anime Prince guys. Yes, I indeed have 4 channels that I post something fun every single day for you guys to enjoy, so go ahead and destroy that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, and not to mention to go ahead and turn on that bell notification to see exactly when I post. So without further ado, wasting more time, what do you say we jump the hell out of here? See you guys soon. Peace guys.